Welcome back, everybody. I'm happy to see you here again after yesterday. It means that probably at least you are interested to know a little bit more. Please let me know if you have any thoughts or doubts or questions about yesterday's lecture. I'm going to send the presentation of yesterday and the two ones that I'm going to use today to Asel right after this lecture. So within the afternoon, you will receive all the material. So that's for your information. And any question, any doubt, any thoughts that you would like to share? Okay. Okay, as we said, today we will go a little bit more concrete in the sense that I'm going to share with you some technique, some tools that hopefully you will find interesting and useful for your marketing package or your participation to market and festival. I'm sharing again my presentation, so you will see it. Okay. Please confirm that you are seeing this.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, so today we will tackle the marketing part that you might remember it's made by pitching and packaging, meaning the tools that you use when you go to a market. We will go through the difference between festival and markets and how to work with both things. And an overview of knowledge of territories and fund and the audience, which are the other two elements that made marketing and distribution useful, let's say, for the development of a project. So basically, which are the documents, and we are talking about written documents mostly, that you use when you go to a market or you have to do the pitch of your film. It doesn't matter if you have to do it officially, so in a competition, so you are called and selected to official pitching, or you are doing it to individual meetings. So basically, when you hear about short documents, we are talking about four things: the log line, the synopsis, the treatment, and the tagline. It's very important for you to identify the identity, let's say, the elements of those four things, because it, you know, because again, it's a question of professionalism. You need to know the language, so you won't get wrong when people are asking you to describe, for instance, your film or your story in a log line. You ideally would know what it is. We will go detailed through each of this. So the log line is basically an instant pitch. It means that it's one or two sentences. You will see it's a short description, of the film. It contains the main theme of the film, and ideally it should also give the tone of what you're talking about, of your stories. Keep it shorter, that's very important, because it's something that, they are also called fast food documents. So it's something that you use to make it simple, to make it fast, and to increase the curiosity of the person who is in front of you. Ideally, it should contain the central conflict of the story. You should give the idea, if you're talking about one-man show, so we're talking about the story of one person, or a collective film. For instance, if you're reading, for instance, I don't know, the story, if you're going to tell the story of, for instance, let's say Stranger Things, just to mention something that you all might have at least known, that is a collective film, so you don't have one character. So ideally, you don't mention in your log line, in your short description, one person, but the fact that we are talking about a group of adolescent or young people. So protagonists or their motivation. And you don't need to describe in the log line the feeling of the protagonist. So I know that said like this seems very complex, because you have two sentences and ideally you have to mention all those things. So I'm giving you an example. Again, we're talking of A Clockwork Orange, very well-known film, of a log line that, in my opinion, it's very well done. So you have here the adventure of a young man whose principal interests are rape, ultraviolence, and Beethoven. Okay, this is the logline of a Clockwork Orange. Let's go back to this. You can see that you have the main theme. So basically the violence, the fact that you are talking about a young man. We go back. You have a young man whose principal interest. So we know through these words, principal interest, that all his adventure will go on, will be driven by what are their interests, basically. So rape, ultraviolence, and Beethoven. Again, you have the central conflict. You can easily understand that there is a kind of gap between the fact that the person who is doing rape and ultraviolence loves Beethoven. So that's the conflict of the young boy. And you don't have any judgment. You don't have any word of feeling here. So nobody is saying if we have to do with a nice guy or a bad guy. I mean, you can understand it, but there are no words of feeling. So this is a logline. Where and when do you use a logline? Usually it's used in the dossier that you bring to markets and festival. We will go deeper to it, but it's basically a very short description of your film when you don't have so much time to depict the story, or basically before depict the full story, before telling people the full element to talk widely about your story. Is it clear what the what logline is?
Yes, totally clear.
Good.
Yes.
Good. So logline, synopsis. Synopsis basically is again we're talking about the story. It could be one page, no longer. Less is better. It means that you don't need to describe every single details of the story. You will have time to do that through the questions, in the treatment, with the script. I mean, you will have time to give all the information and all the details. Just keep always in mind that when you write a synopsis, the person in front of you is listening for the first time your story. So if you inform them with too many details, they will lose you after a few minutes. That's why it's much better to keep it shorter than to give too many information. It's much better to raise questions, to ask them to be patient a little bit and ask them, okay, what happened to this person? Which is the turning point of these elements? Then to give so many information that they can get it along with you. They won't follow you. It's very important to be clear because again, we know that when you have your story in your mind, I mean, you know very well your characters, you know very well your story. So basically there is nobody that more than you knows everything, and we know that every single details for you is important. To make sure that the story becomes important for the person who is listening or who is reading your synopsis, you really need to be clear. Again, focus on the content. It's not a poem. It's not something where you need to focus on the style of what you write or your written document. So do not worry about that, but just make sure that everything that you want to say is there. Truth, in the sense that again, you are not basically don't feel the pressure to inform people if you're talking about the protagonist or the antagonist, or if there is any turning point, any midpoint that you need to mention. This is not something that has to do with synopsis. Again, if somebody is interested and find interesting the synopsis, they will go on reading the rest of your material. So it should be after the logline. This is another first, mirror of your story. Usually it's written in the present tense. It doesn't matter if it's set here and today or in middle age or whatever. You have to write the synopsis in the present tense. This is also a kind of hook in the sense that when one thing is written in the present tense, it's much easier to visualize that. No need to put comments in the synopsis. Again, this is not the moment. You will have space to let people know what you're thinking, what you're talking about, and which are your motivation, but not the synopsis. And it's always good to make it much more readable, to write, for the first time that you mention the characters, their name, to write it in capital letters. This is a thing that makes people visualize very easy which are the protagonists, and that's also important that you keep the names, no more than 3-4 names if you really have to. So again, less is better. It's much better to mention one character less, unless they are the main protagonist, and let people know your character during maybe the treatment or further documents. So the first time that you mention a character, put it, the full name, in capital letters. What shall I include? How do you write a synopsis? You have to explain very well the main conflict of the story. That's what people are looking for and waiting for, basically. You have to let them understand what will be the needs and the wants of the characters, and how this will drive the actions of the character or the characters. It has to be a summary of the plot. Again, don't go into much details. You need just to give an overview of the plot. We are talking about half page, 1 page maximum, no more. So you won't have space anyway to give too many details. And even if you manage to do that, if it's too complicated to read, people will lose your character. They will not empathize with that. So the summary is more than enough for the synopsis. It's a way for you to introduce the characters. So you have to give, through a few words, an example of what the characters are going to, how they are, which are basically their motivation through their action. Again, no need to mention, to do comments, no need to be detailed about their feelings. We are talking about facts. In the synopsis, we just want facts. But it's important that we know who will be the people who will lead us through the full film. You have an emotional element that you have to put in the synopsis, and it has to be the hook to generate interest. So basically, the motivation of the character. What is driven this person to do what he's gonna do? It doesn't matter if they are good feeling or bad feeling, if he or she is the good guy or bad guy. That's not the moment to judge, and it could be that your main character is a bad guy. Fair enough. I mean, nobody will contest that. But it's very important that you show in the synopsis which is the emotional hook to generate the interest of the audience. And please, the end of the film. I understand that these things could be, sometimes there is a big misunderstanding. Because when you're talking with the potential audience, of course, a person that ideally would go to cinema, of course, it's better to keep the end, hidden somehow. So to generate interest, to generate curiosity, so people will be happy to go to cinema and to see the full story. But when you write a synopsis, this is not for the audience. You're talking with professionals. So it's absolutely important for a producer, for a potential financiers or a partner to know what's happening at the end. It's not really a curiosity thing, it's basically a business thing, because if there is a huge turning point at the end, this could make change the genre of the film, for instance. And if I am a producer and I'm talking, you might remember the criteria of a producer, and I'm thinking, where can I get the money for this film? If I know that at the end is totally changing the full story and probably changing the genre, it's something that, in my mind will link me to think to some potential other partners, to some potential other funds. So it's very important to know the full story. So don't forget to write or tell the end when you're describing your film through a synopsis. Clear with the synopsis? Any question?
No, it's clear.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay, something longer than the synopsis is the treatment. The treatment could go from 12 pages, 10, 12 pages till 50, 60 pages. So it is the detailed description of the story. In the treatment, you have all the elements that you have not inserted in the synopsis. So here is the moment to tell every single detail of the story. Again, no motivation, you will have space for that, but every single step of the story has to be written in the treatment. It has to be in prose. It means that you won't write dialogues in the treatment, because dialogues are some things that are strictly related to the script, and we are talking here to something different. Ideally, it's the step before the script. The treatment is the step before. So you don't need to put here the dialogue, because the dialogue will confuse the person who is reading. And mostly they are giving a style that you don't know if you manage to, you're doing a promise that you don't know that you manage to keep in the script. So it has to be the description of the story. If you're starting, for instance, your film, or you're planning to start your film with a flashback, it's very important that you describe this in the treatment. So we will start from the flashback. We will go through the full story as you are planning to do it in the script. Again, in present tense, because that's something that you are gonna do also with the script. It's something that I need to follow, as it was to make me possibly visualize what you're talking about, and to make me visualize your film. So the present tense. And how do you treat the story? This means, how do you see your character acting and moving? How much, for instance, the location or the setting is important for your story. So here is the moment in which you would, for instance, describe a specific location. If you have something very clear in your mind and you have a very peculiar place where you're going to shoot. So the treatment has to follow all the film as you're going to show it in the script and in the shootings. Okay, it's clear for the treatment.
Yep.
Yes.
One thing that you probably won't use, it's the tagline, but I'm telling you what it is, because it happens quite often that people, they mix up tagline and logline. So this is something that I very care about, because it's tagline is something that it has strictly to do with marketing. And you do the tagline always when the film is finished. Basically, it's the small sentence that you see on the poster of the film. I will give you a couple of examples, but what I care about it, and that you understand and you learn how to use the word logline and tagline. So basically, the tagline helps to marketing the film. It's something that you do with sales, with distributors, and it's a central idea or theme. We will say it better later. It's only the feeling of the film. So no information about story, no information about characters. It's no narrative information, and it has to be enigmatic. That's intention. That's something that you don't use for professional use, but you have it there only for the audience. I'm giving you two examples of the tagline. Again, I took two Hollywood films, so just to be sure that everybody has seen it. The tagline of Alien is, "In space, no one can hear you scream." What does that mean? First of all, it has to be on the poster. You don't have any narrative information, so you have no idea what's going to happen there. You have a feeling, you have a mood of the film. So we understand that it's something horrific is going to happen. We understand that it's settled in the space. And if somebody screams, means that it's a kind of horror. But, you know, we don't have anything. Going back here, we have just a central idea, central theme. So again, it's an horror. The feeling, the scary feeling, it's enigmatic. And we have no narrative information. It's the same for Joker. They had a strong strategy of marketing for Joker, and they create a lot of posters with different tagline. I put you here just one, which is put on a happy face. They played a lot with words. They played a lot with the character, of course. But again, you have a clear and easy example on how this how a tagline could work. So basically, people already know. They had on their side the fact that people already know who Joker is, because everybody's aware of Batman. Everybody, and it doesn't matter if they have seen or not the previous films. We are just talking about the general knowledge of the audience. So here they simply put a sentence that could play with the character. Of course, we don't have any narrative information, even if we know what is the story of Joker even before going to cinema to see it. But in any case, that's what they are playing with. Again, they have created a series of tagline to play with the audience and to spread it with different poster. Be careful, because nobody will ask you when you are talking about markets, when you're talking about business with business people or professionals. Nobody will ask you about the tagline. They will ask you about logline, but it's very important that you know which is the difference, because if you tomorrow are called to do a distribution strategy, a marketing strategy with a distributor or a sales agent, you have to know the difference. It makes you much more professionals. It makes you much more capable to talk, to use the several languages that we were talking about yesterday in the market. Any questions so far?
No.
No, thank you.
Okay, so those are the 4 elements that are called the short document. So logline, tagline in the poster, synopsis, and treatment. What we do before going to a market. So we have a film. We have a project in development, let's say. We are looking for money, potential co-producers. We are working to get some funding from national or international funds. We have to prepare some written documents. So how do we do? If you go through some market, you will see that every film has a different package. They are called dossier or package. It's a series of papers that you prepare online, but you also bring on paper with you to leave it to some professionals. You will see several ways to prepare the package, because it's really related to the kind of projects that we are talking about. It's absolutely obvious that a fiction film has to have a different, a less visual dossier than an animated film or a documentary. Because if you are working on an animation film, the first thing that you need to show and demonstrate it's how, which kind of animation you're going to bring there. Is that 2D? Is that 3D? Is any specific way to design it? So it's very important. What I've prepared for you, it's a kind of general scheme that of course you need to adapt to your film. But what I care about is that you don't forget any important element in your dossier. This is a dossier that could be used for a film in full development. So it's probably that for most of your film, it's not really possible to answer already to all those questions and to put all those information. But again, the more you manage to put into your dossier, the more detailed, the more clear will be the idea that you are giving to your film. Don't forget that when we talk about development, people are absolutely ready to changes. So it doesn't matter if you write in your dossier in Berlin, for instance, which is in February, then you have a budget of $300,000. And if you go back to Cannes with a new dossier for the same film with a budget of $500,000. So nobody will be worried about that. It simply means that you are keeping developing your film. So that all changes are absolutely welcome, are accepted. So don't feel binded of what you write in your dossier. The scheme is very detailed, and that's why I prepared a kind of front page, what it could be written in your front page. First of all, so all the points that you see here, all these dots, are basically have to be written in one page, on the front page of the cover of your dossier. The first one would be the title and the logline. Okay, the title, so people can immediately identify what we're talking about. I mean, it's a name of your baby, basically. So it's important to give it, to release it at the very beginning. And a logline. You might remember what a logline is, a couple of sentences of the central theme, of the central story of your film. For now, we don't need anything else. So let's say that you have to treat, in this case, you have to treat your, or the people who are reading your dossier like small babies. You have to give them all information little by little, so they will not get bored, they will learn, they will know your project little by little. So title, and right below the title, a couple of sentences of the story, the logline. It's always good to give people something to visualize. Working in cinema, that's the aim of it. We need, of course, to see what the film will be. You might have some picture directly related to your film, and that's the best option. But if you still have no, no realized any teaser, you still have no shootings or nothing that is related to the film, this directed link to the film, you can use any picture that gives the mood of your film. So you don't need to worry about any kind of rights for the creation of a package, because this is not something commercial, and you can use a very famous, photography, any picture of any other film, something that gives the mood of your film. It's very important that you trust the picture that you're putting, and that you trust every details that you're writing in the package. If something is not convincing you, it's much better to do not put it. If you don't feel comfortable with the picture that from your teaser, for instance, if you don't feel that reminds exactly what you're going to do with your film, it's much better to use another picture, or in the worst case scenario, to do not use pictures. That's something that is not convincing you. Because you might remember yesterday we said that those documents, they have to do your job when you're not there to defend your project, because people will most probably read it at home or while they're traveling, or in any case, they will not read it in front of you, and you will not be able to explain what is written there. So those documents, those written documents, they have to do your job while you are not there. That's why it's very important that every single details that you write there is maybe to be confirmed. You can write it, but especially for the picture, make sure that you like and you trust totally what you're putting there. Mention, if you have it already, the director and the author, name of the director and the author, specifying if the author is just signing the subject, if he's the script writer, and also, I mean, the director if it's already attached. If you don't have the director attached, just write looking for director. So mention the fact that you are in the research of the director. Why it's important to put it in the front page? As you will see, as you are saying, we are basically giving the picture of your film since the very beginning, a general picture in one page. After the director and the author, mention the production company, which could be you, a small production company, an association, or something that, the person who are working on that. If you do not have a production company, just mention producers and your name, or producers / director, authors and your name. But in any case, let people understand who is the business head of the project, who is so far taking care of the production of this film. Even if you are the director, and we all hope that you are, we know that you're looking for another production company, you're looking for some other more experienced producers. It doesn't matter. What I care here is to understand which is the status of the film. So if I know that the director and the authors are, is the same of the producer, I understand that this is an author, this is a director who is probably looking for a producer. But it's always better to mention the producers. It's important to give some technical details. Again, general idea if this is important and if you have it, keeping in mind that you can change it. So the duration of the film means, are we talking about a 52 minutes documentary for television, or are we talking about a 75 long feature films? The format is documentary, is a TV series, it's a web series, it's a web long feature film. Give information on what you are aiming for. You know, it happens that people, I've seen dossier starting as a TV series and becoming, after a couple of markets, long feature film. That's okay, it doesn't matter. But what is your initial and ideal format? What would you like to do as a plan A? And the language of the film. As we are not in US, it's very important to understand which is also for the, you know, to understand better the story, to understand better the setting of the story, to understand in how many language or which language we are going to shoot. Then we all know that subtitles will be done, that for some countries, for the distribution, they will need dubbing. Fair enough, that's totally fine. But it's important to mention in which language we are going to shoot. Another technical information is the status of the project. Let me, let's say that I'm a reader of your package, let me understand what is the job that you have already done so far until here. So is this in early development, means that you are at the very beginning? It's in full or late development, means that you are more, you know, already you have something attached, or you are almost ready to shoot. Is it in pre-production, in production, or in post-production? I mean, in one word, give me the status of your project. This will be much easier for me if I'm a producer to understand what is the job that needs to be done for this film. This was one of the dots that we had yesterday in the criteria of producer. So if I know that it's in early development, I understand that the work is longer, but I have much more space for creativity, to involve people, to you know, also apply to some development funds. If I know that it's in pre-production, it means that I don't have to take care of the development of this film as a producer. And so I won't, but I also won't have access to my development funds, for instance, and have to focus on production. So in one word, you will give food for thoughts to all people who are reading. It's the same if you present this kind of dossier to a potential distributors or sales agent. They will immediately understand where are you and what they can ask you, because if you are in pre-production, they will know that they can ask you for the final script. And if you see that you still don't have the final script, there is a problem, they understand that there is a problem there. So if you are in early development, they understand perfectly well that they can't ask you for the script, because you probably won't even have the first draft of it. So in basically one word, you can make direction, give directions to your chat with this person, and to give them the clear idea where you are. The budget of your film. You don't need to put here the detailed budget, because we only have one page and we have to put all those information. Just the number. Again, it's a question of strategy. Let me understand if we are talking about a $200,000 films or $2 million film. I just need to understand the sides, basically, of the film. Again, if you are in early development and your budget is $200,000, I understand that in a couple of, and you are looking for a potential co-producers, I will perfectly understand if those 200,000 becomes 500 or 600,000 in a couple of months because you have a producer attached or you have a co-producer attached. So don't feel the pressure, you know, to give fake numbers or to raise it too much. But be also careful, because when one author or emerging professionals comes with a very low budget, the problem is that it becomes not really reliable. I have seen long feature films with budgets of 10,000 euros. You immediately understand that you are not talking with professionals. And in any case, if I'm a producer, I will not have any kind of space, or even simply to pay my taxes to do the film. So just try to, when you do a budget, to use markets costs. So to use quotation that are the real costs in Kazakhstan or in the country where you're going to shoot. If you plan some shooting in France, just to go back to what was mentioned yesterday, it's very important that you do a small research to understand how much it will cost to have one professional or one, I don't know, renting or something in France, which might probably be very different from your own countries or a lot of other European countries. So the budget, just one global, the total of the budget that you plan according to your status. I understand that if for a development, if you are in development as a status, your budget may change very easily. So it's not binding. If you are in pre-production, I expect to have a much more reliable budget. I expect that the number that you wrote there, it's much more concrete and much more precise. And it won't change a lot because you are almost ready to shoot. So I'm sure that that amount of money, it's something that is much more precise and related to film. The financing plan. Again, this is something that you will have later in the other pages, space and way to detailed. But what is important here is let people understand how much money are already confirmed. Just put here in financing plan the amount that it's confirmed, not requested, not pended, not yet. If you're still going to apply, don't mention it here. You have to add this line only if you have even a small amount already confirmed. Let's say that you have had, I don't know, a small crowdfunding campaign and you have a few euros from that, or you have a development fund from your countries. I mean, no need to details, just give the idea. Some people, the general idea, some people just write a percentage. So they write, for instance, that the budget is 1 million euros and the financing plan is 35%. That's enough. That's enough for the cover page. We will have time to depin it. We will have time to have a proper financing plan. But now I just need in the first picture and the front page to understand where are you with the project. And the contacts. This is something that very often is forgotten by people. I mean, okay, we met, I gave you, you gave me the dossier. I like your project and I don't know where to write you because there's no email or no something or no phone. So it's the contact of the person who is ideally in charge for that. Don't forget it. And it's much better to put it at the beginning in the front page so people will have it already there. If they have to write you or if they have to call you, doesn't matter if it's on paper or by email, but it's much better to have it immediately. So this is what in an ideal world and as a general scheme you can put on the first page of your dossier of your package. Everything has to be in the first page. I will stop a bit of the presentation just to see your face again here. Is everything clear?
I have one question.
Yes, please.
You said like, for example, we have a development fund local development fund, for example, and the budget of our film is €1 million, for example. And when we write financing plan, you mentioned 35%. Did you mean that this 35% is this local fund for development, right? So
if you need to have it, yes, yes.
So
in this case, when it comes to a dossier, we are talking about the full production budget, which also includes the development. So this is not only related to the development of a film. This is related to the full production of a film. So ideally, the budget should include the development budget plus the production, the set budget. And if you have had the development fund from your country, the 35% covers basically that development. I will understand. And later in the other pages, you will have space to detail this. So this is a ring that it's, for me, reading, okay, it's 35%. I will go later to see what is, in terms of details of numbers, those 35%. But yes, it's related to the full budget of development plus production.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we close the first page. Let's see what happens in the next pages. This is much faster. Okay, the second page is a synopsis, basically. You have seen, you know, the first page is the picture, is the overview of your project. Right after, let's focus on the story, because this is something that interests, you know, most of people. So they have a more or less general idea of what's your film about in terms of production. Now it's time to go deeper in the story. So let's add one page with a synopsis, and we have seen how to write it. The third page will be the note of intent. I will give you later more information on what to insert in a potential note of intent, how to write it with some question that you might answer. But basically, after the story, people want to know your link to the story, your motivation to the story, because you need to explain them why you are the right person to do this film, both as an author, as a script writer, as a director, or also as a producer, because again, we are talking about something that will take a few years. Now you know that, of your life, and we need to understand if you will be attached to this project strongly enough for the full duration of the year. It's very important also to have the distinction between note of intent of a producer and note of intent of a director. I have done a few years ago a consultancy with a, I will stop it so because this is okay. I have done a consultancy for a co-production. I was working for a production company, an Italian production company, to prepare the Eurimage application. You might know Eurimage is the co-production fund. And it was a 3 countries co-production. It was Italy, France, and Germany involved. So it was 3 co-production between 3 countries, 3 big countries in Europe. I was hired from the Italian producer, so I had to do my job for him, basically. But after a couple of meetings among the 3 producers, I realized that they were doing 3 different films. It was a very strange situation in the sense that one was doing a mafia film, another one was selling a Western, and the other one was kind of dreaming to have a drama film. So I realized that even if they had the same script, and the script was almost ready because we were already discussing about scheduling, shooting scheduling, they were working, I mean, they had a different idea of the film. And that was a ring for me. It rings a bell. I mean, it was a problem because I didn't know how to write this application that was supposed to be done among the 3 of them. So I asked them to write me 3 notes of intent. They didn't like the idea because they consider it a waste of time. But I managed to convince them that I needed each of them to write down just a short paragraph of note of intent as a producers. And that was the confirmation that they were selling to their distributors 3 different films. So in that moment, I asked them, okay, let's go around the table. Let's talk about it, because read what you have written, because they gave it for granted. Once they had the script, they didn't really discuss anymore the project, because they were, going through the script. But the distributors and the financier were expecting 3 different things. So this could have been make the agreement broken for them. It was a problem. It was a problem for the film. So it was a problem for me who was trying to raise money for this film. So, this is one, then we had a lot of conversation and we adjust according, then we talked, the first meeting was among me and the 3 producers. When we realized that, we had a lot of chats with the director, of course, because he was the one who was giving us direction, which kind of film this would be. And it was not for sure a Western film, it was not even so drama film. So basically we solved this together talking, and we managed to adjust the direction with the distributors and to save, let's say, everything, the full film. But this is to tell you how important is, the note of intent. And how underestimate sometimes when you are actively working on a project, you have so many things to do that you just say, okay, yes, my motivation, I will tell you later, it's not so important, I need to raise money for this film. But in any case, to write note of intent, one, for instance, from the authors and one for the producers, or one from the director and script writers, it helps a lot a potential partner, a potential co-producer, to understand which kind of film they are doing, and if the creative team is working. It's working in the sense that they click with each other, they are doing the same film, they are on the same page. Because this is the delicate part of the producers as well. You might remember, to coordinate the creative team and to make sure that they get along, that they work together, that we all go in the same direction, that the full team goes in the same direction. So the note of intent, even if it's related to motivation, to what they're gonna do, to which kind of film they're doing, it's always important to separate the note of intent of the director, the note of intent of the script writer, and the producers. This is also a way, and it has to be, one paragraph, nothing special, but this is also a way for people to know better each other, maybe to read something that you won't say out loud, probably in your meeting, because in the meeting you are focused on characters, on the storyline, on everything else, and to be a little bit more naked, but somehow to help the project to develop a bit. So note of intent, that's why they're important.
Alessandra, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Do you mean the note of intention should be a little bit personal? Yes. And what's the difference between note of intention of producer and note of intention of director? What is the difference between them?
Okay, yes, it has to be personal, absolutely. That's why even if you have, if you have 2 directors, it's better to create one. But if the director and script writers are 2 different people, it's better to have it separated. And it's personal in the sense that it's the motivation that leads you to this topic, not really to this project. Why would you like to tackle this topic? Because, happens very often with authors. This is something that you have lived in your childhood. This is an unsolved problem or things that keeps, going in your life, and you need to face it somehow. This is something that you have read in some newspaper and they really affected your attentions for some reason. So the personal motivation and the way in which you treat your film, if you're directors, script writers, or producers, in the sense that you are a script writer, how do you image your characters? How, as a script writer, you would like to, to treat your character? Are you an external eye looking at them, or they are acting on their own and people will only know one point of view from one of the character? If you are a director, which are the technical elements that you're going to use? In a few words, it's not something that has to be, it's 1 page, ideally longer than a synopsis, because it's much more dense and you won't have any other chance, again, to discuss it. For the synopsis, you have the treatment. You know that you will have plenty of space to go deeper in the story. for the note of intent, it's better to give me immediately as a director the idea on how you intend to shoot. Are you going to have a hand camera, to have a specific camera to use? You're going to be closer to your characters, or to watch everybody from outside, you know, all those elements. If you are a producer, it's also important to understand why you are interested in this topic. You are not the one who is going to write it. You are not the one who is going to direct it. So which is your motivation? Because sometimes, you know, it's because they like to work with that team. A lot of producers, they said, we have been working together with those two people, with the director and script writer, or as a team. I really get along with them. I really like them. And I trust that this will be a great story, even if it's not, you know, the topic of my heart, and I will probably never, I wouldn't have never written or think to this kind of stories, but I like their point of view and how they're going to treat it, and I trust they are going to do that. And from note of production, producer's note, they have to write their strategy, basically, what they are planning to do. Is this a film that could go into co-production, or it's much better to keep it as a local production, as a national production? Are they going to get on board potential co-producers to do some teaser before even apply for development fund? Or it's much better to work on the script now and then try to get some development fund and later create a teaser or a visual material. You know, those elements that gives the overview, everybody in his own segment. So the director has to do it for the directing part. The script writers has to do it for the, you know, the word and the mood of the characters. And the producers have to do it from the production strategy that he has in mind.
Thank you, it's clear.
So we are on the third page. So note of intent, which ideally have to be longer than synopsis. It's always good, and it's always appreciate one page with the character's biography. Be careful, because this means, I mean, you don't have to write what is happening to the characters in the script. We will have the treatment and the script to see it. What it could be good here is to mention 2, 3, maximum 4 main characters, and to give us an overview of their universe. Even if the story is about a 40-year-old man, let me understand through their short paragraph of biography, who is this man? So let's say he is a 40, in the story he has 40 years, but he had a difficult childhood. So something that we won't see it in the script, in the film, but we will understand through the dialogues, probably because he has, I don't know, a conflict with his father or with his mother, or I don't know, somebody in the family. Or for instance, when he was 13, he killed another young boy. So this is something that we won't directly see in the film. We won't see him 13 killing a boy, but we will probably discover it through the story. So short paragraph, 2, 3 sentences for each characters that could give us the universe of these people. This is good because this will allow the reader of your package to know them a little bit better before going deeply into the treatment. So they have a logline, they have a couple of sentences, and they know, the person who is reading knows what we are talking about. Then we have the synopsis. We have 1 page that could, you know, explain a little bit better the story, still in a general way. Then we have the details of the 3, 4 main characters. I get to know them better, and I am absolutely into the story, and I'm ready for the treatment. When I start reading 50 pages of treatment, I will know already what we are talking about. I will know the main conflict of the story. I will absolutely be aware of these people, and I will probably have already the character that I like more, and I will already have a light preference for somebody. So I will immediately be into the story. I won't need time to get familiar with it, because I already have the main information. So the other part, the fifth page, would be the treatment. That could be shorter or longer according to the status of the project, but it's the treatment. After the treatment, I have basically done with the story. So I gave to the reader of the package all creative information and a light, a slight overview of the production part. Now it's time to dip in a little bit the production part. So here, after the treatment, is the moment to put the summary budget and the summary financing plan. Not 20 pages of detailed budget, you don't need that. But 1 page with the main items of the budget would be appreciated here. Because I understand now that I'm ready, I have read the story, and I understand that if you are doing a sci-fi fiction film, probably I know why your budget is high. I will have a general idea of the main costs that you plan to have in the film. So 1 page of summary budget and another page of financing plan. Here, as Christina was saying, is the moment to give information, details information of what I have on board. So to explain the 35%, let's say, that I put it as a line in the cover page, and to explain what else do I have or what else do I plan to have. Meaning I plan to apply to another development fund, but I still haven't. And I can get $20,000, for instance, from that other fund. I plan to apply to, I've applied to another development fund, but I'm waiting for an answer. I have involved the potential co-producer and he's waiting for his development fund. So to give in a scheme, again, of 1 page, the general idea of your production strategy, of at which point are you. After the technical and the production part, you can, it's always appreciate to let people know more about who we have in the team. So curriculum, I always suggest to keep maximum 1 page. What is usually used in the industry is 1 paragraph. You might have seen also the CV that my CV attached to the presentation of the workshop. That's something that is usually used in the business, because you don't really need to, even if you have done 25 short films and 30 video clips, you don't really need to mention all of them. For me, it's just important to know that you have done 25 shorts and 30 video clips. So just mention it like this. So usually try to keep it shorter, even if you have big names, even if you have even more, actually, if you have big names, because probably you won't need to give the details of the story since the school, but just mention a few last titles that are very important for that. So, and absolutely feel free to add the curriculum of people who you have already involved, meaning maybe the director, the script writer, the producers. But if you have a DOP that you were really aiming to have and you are so happy and proud to have, and he's a very good name because it makes sense, for instance, for your film, because it's the right person to give you, the right photography of your film. It's good to have this CV. Just make sure that beside the three main professionals, so producer, director, and scriptwriter or author, you add the other CV only if they are very important, not in the sense well known, but they are very important for the film. So they add something. You don't need to put the CV or production assistant, because of course this is something that you will do it later, but it's not the dossier at the moment in which to give an overview of all old people that you are going to involve. Just keep it, the CV, for the main important people. And at the end, you can add some visuals. You might have a mood reel, you might have a teaser or a promo, you might have a storyboard. So some visual that you can attach or add a link or something that, you know, where people at the end, you know, of this lunch, let's say, with your package, and that we gave them, you know, small, little by little, they know the story, they know you, they know the production part, and now it's probably time to let them see something, if you have it, if you have it. This kind of scheme, that again, it's something that you can follow or play with. It's you know, it's complete in this sense. From here, you will have, thanks to that, you will give people the full overview of your project. Then it's up to people who are reading, decided what to read before. For instance, it really, for me, when it happens for me to be in an evaluation commission, if it's a development fund, I actually rather prefer to start with production. So it's up to me, let's say, read before the financing plan, have a look before at the note of intent, and then go back to synopsis, character biographies, and treatment. So I can easily play with a scheme like this. I can easily play and choose myself which documents I would like to read before. So this is not a must. This is just a way to, you know, to approach basically the project. But with this kind of scheme and with this kind of order, you will be sure to give people all information that they need at that moment. The ideal situation is if after this dossier, they said, okay, let's have a chat. I mean, I have now enough information to do a deep chat with you. So to go deeper in the conversation. And in this case, they will do all their comments or question on the story, on the script if you have it, on the elements. Any question?
No.
Does this make any sense for you? I mean, do you find this useful for your project or what you're working on?
Yes, very useful. Thank you.
Alessandra, can I ask a question? If you work in an extraordinary project, for example, such a full-dome movie or something like this, which visuals should you put in your package? Because full-dome movie, it's a circle, and which kind of visuals should I take in this document?
What do you already have of the film?
Just visuals of mood reel, something like this we have.
Okay, I mean that's basically the answer in the sense that it's important to give, if you are in development, it's important to give the impression of what you would like to use. For instance, a mood reel could be also mood book could be also be done from some pictures or some scenes of even famous films that in any case give that you are aiming to. So something that it's similar to what you would like to reach, similar to what you would like to transmit people. And it's absolutely fine that you put together, you know, those information for them, those visual information, just to give them the idea of the universe and how do you intend to treat it. We will go now deeper, and I will give you more, you know, I will list a little bit more details information what it could be inserted in a mood book. If you have already your material, shooting already done, I always suggest to create a teaser, which is, people know that even legally, you can't use the material that is in the teaser for the film. So basically, you do separate shootings for a film. Then we all know that, you know, people play with that, that's okay. But the people who are looking at your teaser, they will know that, okay, this is a teaser. So even if it's not perfect, it's a kind of study. So you are studying, visualizing your film, you are testing your director, you are trying your actors. So it's, and it still gives me that I'm watching the film, a general idea of what it could be, what will be the universe, what I'm gonna see on the screen when the film is finished, okay? That's why it's important, if you manage to use similar location, what you're aiming at, potential actors that will be already, that you plan or you are just testing and trying. So if you have some, if you do some, even 1 or 2 days of shooting for a teaser, you will see, for instance, even if you have 2 great actors that, you know, alone they're great, but you understand they don't really match on the screen. It happens, you know, sometimes that you can say, look, the actors are absolutely great, but there is no chemistry among them, and you can see it. So it's this is a kind of material that you use for feedback. The teaser is a test for yourself and your team for the film, and it's something very useful for the feedback. So people, professionals could tell you this works, this not work, and or be careful because this is for me a weak point, or why did you use this music? Are we going to use the same music in the film? You know, this kind of information. So even if you build your teaser or your mood reel with not your material, the choice of those other scenes from other films, of pictures, should really transmit. If you're doing a dark film, you will use some, you know, scene of other dark films. It doesn't matter, they don't have to know very well-known film, but it's something that is inspiring you. Or some picture of location, for instance, that maybe you are never going to use because they are too far, because they're too expensive, or because, you know, it's just helps you, or sometimes they are just pictures in the sense then that they're not really existing places, and you take it from somewhere that you don't even know where it is. So that's okay, but they have to transmit the mood, so the feeling that you would like to use in your film. Okay, so for the visual materials attached to the dossier, everything is allowed. So you are really free to use what makes sense for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go through. If you don't have any question on this, I will go on the last part, the last module, let's say. It's opening the PPT, just a moment, of our presentation of our lecture, meaning festival and market strategy. So basically now you have the information of how you can be prepared to go to a market. You have your dossier, you have material of your film. So what's next? What shall you do? What shall I do? So festivals or market? The first thing is to underline the difference among those two. It's clear, it's something very basic, but I keep listening people working in markets that makes me even more sensible, let's say, to the topic. I keep saying people that they go to festivals saying, they go to market saying, I'm going to festival. Okay, sometimes they are the same. So in Cannes, in Berlin, you have the festival and you have the market. But they are 2 different things. They have 2 different team of people. They usually also have 2 different companies, you know, legal companies taking care of it. So the festival, you go to festivals with a finished film. Of course, you don't go there with project in development. You don't go there with project at all, because you won't find only business people. You will find the general audience. The aim of the festival is to sell tickets to people and to bring general audience to cinemas, to let them see films that maybe new films, or films that won't probably be distributed in their country. So to somehow to take care of the general audience. And if you are a professional, the festivals are important because you go there with the premiere, ideally the first exit of your film, and to look for sales or distributors if you still have it. Because other than markets, the sales and distributors also go to festivals, and when they really don't trust the film in development, or maybe they have followed the full the full production part, the full development of the film, but they still want to see it finished, in the sense closed, totally closed. So it's an hook, of course, also for sales and distributors. This happens very often in bigger markets. So for instance, when you are selected in Cannes or Berlin or Venice or even Rome, it happens very often that sales and distributors wait to see if you are selected there to get on board, to do you a proposal. So it's also business things, but basically has to do, everything has to do with the finished film. Markets, you have 3 different kind of markets. Co-production markets, in some co-production markets, you have pitching forum, meaning that you have a platform where officially people will present in front of 500 or 600 people or whatever number it is, their project in development, and work in progress. What is this? Co-production markets and pitching forum are for projects in development. You might remember I work for When East Meets West. That is a co-production forum. We have the pitching forum, meaning that we select 20 projects to be presented for 7 minutes, 10 minutes in front of a wide audience. So they have the stage and they talk and they show their material in 10 minutes. And the co-production market, meaning that after that, we ask people to require individual meeting with the 20 projects selected, and we organize individual meetings. So they have the opportunity to pitch in front of everybody, and they have the full day after, the afternoon and the full day after, all with scheduled individual meetings, meaning that we try to do the matchmaking. We try to connect the project with the right co-producers, with the right head of funds, sales, or distributors. Okay, so we have both. But sometimes happens to, for instance, in Berlin and in Cannes, you don't have pitching forums. So you don't have a space where projects are officially pitched in front of everybody. You only have co-production markets. So people don't listen the pitch, but they read the material, which is something similar to the dossier that we have seen, and they set individual meetings. The work in progress is the rough cut. We started yesterday with that. Means that if in development you are allowed to do not have a script ready, to do not have done teaser, or don't know when you are going to shoot, or don't know it for sure, for the work in progress, you already need some visuals that will be the films, meaning that you have to have done at least partially shootings of the film. And as you might remember, it's my other hat. It's Meeting Point Vilnius. It's the Lithuanian international market that I lead. Basically, what we do here is not helping people to find potential co-producers, but mostly to find gap financing, maybe a little bit of money that they are missing, mostly for co-production, and to find the right festival, the right sales, and the right distributors. Why should you attend the markets? First of all, because even if you are not, and we will say it, even if you're not selected in the official competition, the markets are attended only by professionals. You won't find general audience with a market badge, basically, or in the market, because for them it's too boring. They don't understand anything, basically. They are not interested in ideas that maybe will be realized or maybe not. So it's just for professionals. And each of them is a potential partner. Even if not for this specific project that you're working on, it could be for your next project, or it could be you to be their next partner, because maybe you like what they're working on. You know, it's a do-this process there. When you meet some people, you will tell them what are you up to, and they will give you the information what they are up to. So if you feel any kind of possible link with them, you will deepen it, you will continue working. And maybe you discover that they need a service in your country, or they need some contact, some things where you could be useful. It's important to go to get feedback on your projects. Even if the person that you're talking to will never be your partner, your co-producers, or your financier, it's very important to hear what they have to say, because it's always a professional opinion. And even if you're not taking it at the end of the day, or you don't trust them, it's anyway important to hear that, because as we were saying yesterday, if 5 people are underlying a weakness or a strength point of your character, your story, or your strategy of somehow, then probably you should start trusting this ongoing opinion. 2 in words, every market has their awards, which are even, they don't give a huge amount of money. It's something different from, you know, from a fund. Sometimes they only have 1,500 euros or 5,000 euros, so it's not a lot, but still it helps your application to funds. If in a co-production, if you win a pitching forum, this is something that you can use financially, but also has has prestigious things for your next fund. So they will, the commission that will evaluate your project to decide if giving money to your project will take into consideration that you have gone, I don't know, to Venice Meets West and you got the first place. Not really for the money, or not only for the money, but especially because they will understand that a jury composed by professionals choose your film among some others. So they will kind of already trust the first opinion. They will not be the first one to invest on you because it's something that you already have done. And in any case, it's adding value to your project. To build up your network. Anna was saying that we met a lot of years ago. Yesterday was mentioning that we have known each other for so much. We never had the chance to really cooperate together, but in any case, it's always good. You know, after 15 years of knowing, we managed to organize this, for instance, you know, together. And hopefully in the future, we will continue to do something. So it's always good to know people because you will be updated on the industry. It's always good to know what people are doing because they will give you information on which direction is the market and the industry going. And you are part of the business somehow. So you will get to know more and more people, even if they are not, even if you don't need them in this specific moment, you will know them anyway. I mean, I'm Italian, the people from Lithuania, they approached me when they were looking for a head of market because we had, you know, a 5 or 6 year good relationship with their film center. We got to know each other in a very informal way. We never cooperated before, but when it comes, you know, to look for people who could be trusted, I mean, they called me and they said, are you interested in this? Because we had, you know, we had a few years of chats and we have seen and studied each other even from outside. So show that you are a player. If people keep seeing you in the market, so they will understand that you are up to date, you are informed of what's going on, and you are part, of course, of the game. So being always up to date. And it's a never-ending process. The audiovisual industry is never the same. It's really changing very, very fast. It used to be due to the technologies, you know, and the new way of, for instance, distribute films or to the new platforms. Now the COVID situation has mixed up again everything. So everything is going to be rebuilt according to the, for instance, for the distribution. Now a lot of festivals or distributors are totally changing their strategy and they had to do it in a very short amount of time to be able to survive. So it's something that if you leave for a few years, even a few months, it's difficult to catch up again. I mean, it's something that you need to do your homework. We all do. That's why, you know, a lot of people travel a lot also only for the network, even if you don't have a project. How to choose, how to make your choice, when to apply to a co-production market, pitching forum, or work in progress. First of all, you have to evaluate your project. You have to see which elements of your project fits with the market that you are aiming at. The genre, of course, because you have some market entirely dedicated to documentary. Sunny Side of the Doc is the most important European market for documentary, for instance, or animation or genre films, or horror or fantasy and so on. according to your co-production strategy, I'm keeping using my examples, but to give you a clear idea. When it's Midwest connects a project from Eastern Europe with ones from Western Europe. So if you are from Balkan and let's say, or even Kazakhstan is absolutely eligible, and you're looking for a German, or you would like to have a Spanish or French or Italian or UK co-producer, that's the right place, because you know that you will find there people who are interested to cooperate, to co-produce with that countries, for instance. And the stage of production in the sense of co-production or work in progress. The second evaluation should be the elements of the market. So which is the editorial line of the markets? There are so many markets around that you need, again, unfortunately, to do your homework, to study the list. I will show you another link where to find the full list of markets in Europe, but I feel that I trust that that could be useful for you as well. So the editorial line of the market, which what they cover, what they aim to do, the guest list. Every market has have to put online their guest list, at least of the previous year. So you have a general idea of the number of people, so size of the event, and the names of people who are attending. You can evaluate if this is good for you, or it's too big, or it's too small according for this project. The size is exactly this. There are some bigger markets that it's good to attend, but probably not if you are emerging. I always do not suggest emerging professionals to start with Berlin or Cannes, because they get lost. It's too big, it's too complicated for them to understand, because you don't really have a guide there. So it's much better if you want to start working, approaching or going to markets, to start from a smaller market that can be easier to understand, because it's not so, automatic, understand the mechanism of markets. They have all different things. And also to get in touch more easier with people. In Cannes, Berlin, everybody's rushing like hell. They have to be there a few days, and the investment, financially speaking, is huge for each of us. So we know that we have to give value to every single slot of our presence in Berlin, and especially in Cannes, which is bloody expensive. So it's you already have your calendar. You try to maximize your time there. So you won't have so much time for informal network. If you, as emerging, go to a small market, people will be much more relaxed. Probably in one, everything happens in one place, or maximum two. So you will jump into other professional more and more time. They will be much more approachable. So in a drink, in a cocktail, it's easier for you to go to them, to introduce yourself, and to talk, or to set a talk later, much more in a smaller event than in a bigger one.
Alessandra, excuse me. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Could you please provide any examples of small market?
Small market. Mm-hmm. Okay. For instance, I will show you the list. So we will go through it and we will see it together. Do you see the filmneweurope.com page?
Yes.
Okay. This is another website. It's similar to Cine Europa, focused on Central Eastern Europe. And you have a very updated agenda of all co-production, market, pitching, and work in progress. You also have here some trainings. So this is a training. For instance, this is 2020 agenda that starts from January. So you will see Ave on Demand is a training. When it's Midwest, it's my market. And we have approximately 500 people. And you can consider this a medium market. Rotterdam, this is the Rotterdam Film Festival, is the market of Rotterdam Film Festival. This could be, again, considered a small medium market. Okay, so the film festival and the Cinemart, which is, again, it's another side of the market. Torino Series Lab, this is a training. Clermont-Ferrand is it's a big market dedicated to short films, and Euroconnection is part of it. You have several things to Berlinale. Sunny side of the dock, it's a medium/small market, totally dedicated to documentaries. A small market is this, the Belgrade, the industry meeting, B2B, and it is very good if you aim to find potential partners in all Balkans. Cartoon movie is very good for animation. It's also it's a small one, like Thessaloniki, Pitching Forum. They are all small, meaning that they have 200, 300 people, like Agora. All these can be considered small market, and everything is settled in the same place. They are people are accessible, and they are very specific. They have a very specific geographical direction. So you know that again in the Agora, it's the industry part, the documentary basically industry part of Thessaloniki. You have their Mediterranean countries. Then if you go on each website, you will see all their main editorial line. East Dock Market in Prague as well is a small one, but very effective. They are totally focused. I mean, they have a specific part totally focused on human rights documentary. They have Thessaloniki as also a doc in progress, which is separated basically from the session, from the Agora. It happens, it's 2 days attached to it. Zagreb doc, it's a very small market entirely dedicated to documentary as well. And again, it's very good for Caucasian countries. This is a workshop. Sofia meetings. This is a medium actually market. It's not really small. It happens in Bulgaria, and they collect the full industry of Europe. So they have. It's Balkan oriented, but you find there all the Europe, also all Western Europe interested in the Eastern, basically. And go on. So all this basically beside this is the other my market also, which is a small one. We have approximately 200 people, 250 people, most oriented in Baltic and Caucasian countries. So it's the geographical arc that goes not on horizontal line, but on vertical geographical line. So basically beside Cannes and Berlin and Rome, Venice, Toronto, these huge names, everything else, it's settled between medium and small size. Then, of course, this is good because the time of the year is also another criteria that you should evaluate. So to have an overview of what happens, if you plan to shoot in November, you know that probably your last chance to go to a market will be May, April, June, let's say. So you also decide where to apply and which market attend according to your own timeline. So what do you have in your plan, in your agenda? Did I answer to your question, Diana?
Yes, thank you.
Good. So elements of the market, so time of the year, we said, and when is the right time to apply? As we were saying yesterday, it really depends from the kind of markets. Everybody makes their guidelines very clear in that. So some people, they need you to have some visual material already. Some markets, they are fine only with the treatment, or some they are for early stage of development. But basically, it's always good to go to market to expose your project in an official pitch when you have some financing in place. That could be domestic, meaning national, also regional, or a small investment, also private, or international support. So you can show the famous financing plan line that we had in the dossier. So you show that somebody already invested on you. So you have at least a small support. Script and director could be done before and after, because again, the co-production market, they appreciate if you have a director, but often it's not mandatory. You can go there to look for a director, that's okay. The script, usually it's before most of the time, so they don't ask you to have a script, but they may ask you a short treatment or long treatment according to the markets. And compatibility, guidelines and timelines. For instance, for some market, you have to make sure that, for instance, you have to apply, you have to have your premiere, for instance, for some markets. Les Arcs, which is a market that happens in France at the end of the year in December, they are not picking up your project if you have been selected previously to other pitching. They want you to be they want them to be the first place to expose your project, for instance. Some market have this kind of requirements. So it's a question of guidelines, to go through the guidelines and to understand what they want. I understand that it could seem complicated and long, to go through all the guidelines of all markets, but if you start going to markets and talk with people, you will just know some things, you will get to know it very easily. So it will be much easier for you to, to move among all those markets, because even if the list could seem long, it's not so long. So at the end of the day, after a couple of years, you see the main, you get to know the main market, you get to know people of the markets, like me, for instance. You know that in case you have a potential co-production with Western Europe, you can approach me, or in case you would like to have feedback on a rough cut, you can approach me for Vilnius. So, it's a question of network and how you build your network. Which material shall you prepare? So before the selection, usually market, they ask what you already have in your package, in your dossier. So synopsis, treatment, notes, and financing plan. Then some of them might ask you some specific strategy, maybe development strategy, but usually those are the main things that you will see from an application for markets. After the selection, you will be required to work better, to work deeper on your material, because this material, it will be sent to decision makers. So to people who will decide if setting a meeting with you, an individual meeting or not. So those after the selection material is usually what's going to be put in the catalog, in the official catalog. So the logline, the synopsis, the director and company profile, the notes. Notes means note of intent. Usually they're always separated, director, producers, and so on. The visual, an L missing, approach. Sometimes is required which usually is the director notes, but sometimes they, especially for markets dedicated to documentaries and animation, they ask you a specific paragraph of the visual approach. The mood board or teaser, what you have to show, and your priority list. This is something that helps market people like me to understand what are you looking for. Your priority list means your plan A is to find a co-producer, or you already have co-producer attached and you won't get rid of your rights anymore, but you need a sales and distributor. So what are you looking for? This is something more for us than for you, in the sense that will help us to be efficient and effective for your project. So it's something that you need to give the information that they will ask you to understand how to help you to find the right people to meet for the individual meetings. How shall you present your material? Okay, very quickly, basically, the synopsis should answer the question who and what. You might remember at the beginning of our lecture. So basically the main information on the conflict, on the story, and not characters, who and what. The director notes have to underline why and how. So why, the motivation, okay, of the director, and how the director intends to treat the material, the story, and to make us visualize it. The producer's note have to be, of course, their motivation, but also focus on when and where. So which stage are you, what we were discussing before, which stage are you of the production, which funds and when are you going to apply, where are you going to go, in which market are you going to attend? So when and where. What to include in the note of intention? I think, first of all, your main motivation, basically, your main intention. So why you like this story, why you decided to invest years of your life in this story. The point of view, mostly if you are a script writer and the director, we already mentioned this. So how you watch at your characters and at your story. Your discovery of the story. This has to do to your personal motivation. How did you get along with the story? How did you get in touch? How did you know? Did you discover? Is something totally new that came from your personal childhood or your personal experience, or is something that you have heard to newspaper or to a person in the street, or it happens to your neighbor or something like that? The context, actual events and people, if this is again important for a legal point of view, because if we're talking about real people or existing people and events, there might be some implication from the legal point of view. So describe the context. And if you are a producer or a script writer, your connection to the director. Have you already been working together? It's the first time that you're working with the director, but you like him so much that you couldn't wait to get in touch with him and to work with him. So which is your connection? Just because it's important to demonstrate the team cooperation. If it's there, if it has to do, maybe it's your friend that you never work together, but it's probably time, to start working because the story is kind of putting you together or something similar, but your connection to the director. And how you can write note of intent. First of all, be specific. You have one page, ideally longer than the synopsis, but it's much better to avoid empty words, in the sense that go straight to the point. Make sure to give less words and less information, but they have to go straight. They have to be very clear for the person who are reading. Be consistent with your director. Again, don't play around. Don't give general information that we already have in the synopsis or in the treatment, or don't say the same things that the director is going to say. We know that if you are tackling a story of an abuse, for instance, of a small girl, that is painful. Okay, that's okay. We know that. You don't need to put it in the note of intention, you, the director and script writers. We all start from the basic point that you are telling something painful and the story that probably needs to be said. And avoid to make a philosophical essay, in the sense that, again, content over style, like in the synopsis. It's not a demonstration how good you are in writing, but it's more in transmitting, the feeling that you have about this film, and that I need to trust you as a producer or as a director or as a script writer, because you have to demonstrate me that you are the right person to do this film. The mood board. If you don't have or even if you're planning to have some shootings and create a teaser, it's very important to keep these three elements. What is the universe that you're going to tell? Not in the sense of setting, okay? We take it for granted that the setting could change if it's a mood board, but you have to give us the idea of the universe that you intend to tackle. For instance, are you planning to have your film in a desolated district of a big city? Or we are in the middle of a forest somewhere, we are in a village, are we in overcrowded cities. So give us the universe of the film. Who is going to live in this universe? So are we talking about 3 people isolated in a forest, or a small group of people in alone and lonely in a big city? So who is going to live in this universe? And how I'm going to feel in this universe? Is that dark? Are we talking about a very, very happy and light environment, and you will, I don't know, shoot most of the time with a specific light, or with you have a clear idea of photography? So how I'm going to feel, what this will transmit me. And this is valid both if you are using existing material from other films or whatever, or you are shooting your own teaser. It's clear that if you're shooting your own teaser, you will probably have some elements that you're testing for your film itself. So it's much more trustable in the sense of what you are looking for. So you have to be careful in the choosing of location and so on. But still, those are the elements that makes the mood board effective. If you are going to apply for a work in progress, not a co-production, you are probably looking for international distributors and sales, festivals, and meaning the right place to release your film, your finished films, because in the work in progress you find also a lot of programmers. Programmers are the people who work in festivals and that choose the final lineup of the bigger festival. So they also, they want to see the finished film, but they follow you like the sales and distributor does. They follow you already in development phase. They like to be updated. So, and they are mostly present in the festival, in work in progress markets. And gap financing. It might happen that you are missing some money to close the shooting or the post-production, and there are around Europe, or in any case in the international markets, there are some specific funds dedicated to minority co-productions, meaning that some producers have the opportunity to jump into your project, not to develop it. They have no strength enough, probably because they have their own other project in development, but they will be happy and ready to jump into a project at the end of it, maybe trying to apply to their minority scheme funds, and to help you to financing the last part, the small part of it. If you're not selected, it could be worth anyway to go to some markets. For the informal networking, as we were mentioning, because it's always good, especially in the small markets, to jump into decision makers or people that you would like to know, other colleagues, other directors, scriptwriters, or producers. Because every market has side activities. You have labs, you have panels, you have case studies. In any case, you have a lot of talks that could be good for you. I was, for instance, when we had Maya workshops, the training for producers, I was attending a lot of talks and panels to find the right speakers, for instance, for our emerging producers. So to find some decision makers who were, yes, good professionals, but were also good, in speaking with the audience. So that's a way to, if you want to organize or plan to organize something, it's good to get to know these people. And also because you always have to keep in mind that all people attending market are professionals. They are not professors, they don't always and only teach, but everybody who is talking has its side activity, practical activities. And for the priority access, basically, if you get to know people and markets, and you are one usual suspects in the sense that they keep saying you in the market, you might be invited, you know things in advance, more than discovering from Cine Europa, more than from New Europe, or word of mouth. You are there, and you will discover some things, some trends of the industry already already during the market. And you have access to other projects immediately. You can see if you could be useful for, you could be a kind of decision maker for some other projects. So to-do list for markets. Remember and respect deadlines. Remember means just study, basically. It's very important because according to your timeline, every market has his own deadline. And even if it's common to do an extension at the end of it, of 1 week or a few days, it's always good, to respect deadlines. And to make sure that your project will be evaluated. Prepare your materials. Don't try to send films to market just to try, because unfortunately we tend to remember the project that we got, and especially the ones that we didn't select, because we always feel guilty to leave some great project out there because the applications are too many. So when you, even if you are not selected, when you have a good material, it happens very often that we don't select some project, but we invite them, meaning that we pay them at least accommodation, accreditation. We ask them, we tell them, look, unfortunately it was not possible for several reasons to select your project, but we like your material, we like your project, so we would like to give you an extra opportunity to come anyway, because this is an added value for my market, to have good professionals also attending for the informal networks. Because beside, of course, the first part are the projects that are selected, but beside that, we need to take care to a lot of other things. So make sure to have right people, good people, that it's an added value also for us. Study the guest list. It's important because you can set some meetings before coming to any market, so you can make sure to informally meet some other people in your individual meetings, and who is not attending. I mean, if you have a project in development and you're attending a work in progress, that could make sense, because informally you can set some meetings with people that talking about your project also in development if you are selected. But you have to know who is coming and who is attending the same market. You find the guest list when the deadline is done. You always find in the market's website the guest list of confirmed people, and we update this list every week, basically till the end, because people are keeping coming, or sometimes just deleting their participation. So you will have the chance to see it. And get to know market people, in the sense that, for instance, me or other people that work in the market could be useful maybe for an advice, or I usually, especially now that we are in the full call for application for the co-production forum, I'm having at least 2-3 individual meetings per day of people that are interested in coming, in submitting their project, and they want some advices, they want to know more about the market. So if you know them, I mean, people that know me personally, or if you know them personally, it's much easier to approach them and to get more honest feedback, because I have to be formal, especially now that everything is online. I have to be very formal with some people that I don't know, but I can be more relaxed, let's say, with people that I know, I have met, or project that I have been following since a few months or years. So I can tell them this is good, this is not good, or suggesting them to apply or to do not apply if I know that there is no chance. It's better for them to focus on something else, for instance. Okay, let's stop 1 minute here. It's everything clear? Do you have any question?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, go on.
For example, I'm now at the work in progress step, and do I need to apply for the post-production fund if this is a work in progress step?
the markets, they do not have funds for post-production.
Yeah.
In the markets, you can find people who could be interested who could have in their own country some post-production funds, that for sure. So it could be good to apply to some markets, work in progress markets. And look where you can look for sales distributors and also gap financing in this sense.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind that markets are not funds, so they are not really,
sure.
they don't have call for application for funds. But for sure, it's a good place where you can show your rough cut or what you have in your film, get feedback, collect feedback, and try to understand if there is anybody who could jump in and help you with post-production. It's, I mean, it's when you do a pitching, now we will go fast through the potential pitching session and how to build it. It's very important, you know, for you to mention what you're looking for. It's not to reject things of potential people, but it's important for me to understand, okay, as a producer, do you need me, or you're just looking for sales, or you would rather prefer to have a sales because you won't get rid of your rights, for instance, because you don't have any more space for co-production now. So it's, usually they put also in the catalog, it's written in the catalog, what are you looking for? And if I see that you are looking for sales and distributors, even if you are missing some part of the budget, I understand that you are not interested in another co-production. So I will, a potential co-producer, I will probably not approach you because I know that this you are not looking for me, basically, but for something else.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I have lost. Oh, that's it. My presentation. Okay, I will quickly go. So that's the overview of markets and how and why to approach them. I would like you to give also a short information on how to pitch your project, so how to present your project. And it's clear that this could be valuable in both sense for when you do it officially, so if you're selected and you do it in front of a lot of people, but it could be also used when you do individual meetings, scheduled or not, in the sense that if you are selected in a co-production market, but also if you meet somebody in a cocktail and they are asking you to talk about your project, it's always good, you know, to have something to say. So what is a pitch? The pitch comes, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the word, but it's a word that has nothing to do with cinema. It comes from baseball. It's the straight launch that the players do, and it has to go to strike. So basically it's a metaphor that we use since many years in cinema, but to say that you have to give a short and immediate, and you have to give shortly an overview and a powerful description of your film. There is not the right way to do it. You will see, and I have seen so many different ways to pitch. Everything could be good and everything could be wrong according to yourself. So also your motivation, but mostly your attitude as a person and your project. So there are different ways to pitch your project. One of the main suggestions that I can give you is to be objective. It's obvious that you love your project, you are there and you would like to realize this project. So to mention it during a pitching probably is not the right thing to do, but you have to try to be very objective of your film in order to avoid or to anticipate basically other people comments on weakness or a question. So there are no rules, but there is one must. You have to be prepared. I have seen people so sure of themselves that they have destroyed basically their pitching. And if a person who is listening you has to decide if cooperate with you day and night for the next 3-4 years, if they are scared from your personality and if they don't like your show, or you're a way to underestimate, you know, the presentation, the talks that you're having, they will probably, even if they like the project, they will probably not keep talking to you. So prepare your presentation. It doesn't matter how much experience you are. It's very, very important. First of all, you have to know your story, in the sense that sometimes you have, I mean, if it's still vague, if you don't have your point of references is just in your story, then probably you need to work more on the story before be ready to pitch it. Underline some verbal elements. So keep some keywords that you can use and that can transmit the core of your story. The storytelling ability is something that you probably will not learn. You, in the sense that there are shy people that make very, you know, they have hard time in describing things. That's why if you are prepared, you leave less to improvisation, and somehow, as long as you you know, transmit the right information, that's fine. It's good. Nobody will judge you because you are too shy, or you do some mistakes during the pitching, or you stop yourself because you of emotion when you have 500 people in front of you. I mean, it's among professionals, so we know it's not a show. It's not an actor studios thing. So don't be worried about that. Be ready to answer questions, because the aim of the pitch is exactly that, to raise questions. You won't be able usually the average time of pitching is 7 minutes. This is an international average time. So in 7 minutes, you won't be able to tell everything. So of course there will be a question. And you hope that there will be some question, because it means that people are aiming and eager to know more. And know the audience. Try to understand who is in front of you. When you study, you know, the list of guests for markets, or if you are scheduling an individual meetings, if you have a potential business angels, of course, it's different that if you have in front of you a potential director that you would like to attract. So you will have to do a different kind of pitch. So some general rules: less is more. Keep in mind that people won't take more than 4 or 5 minutes of attention. And that's why you have to focus on the story in that 4 or 5 minutes, because later, you know, the production elements are easier to digest because they're kind of numbers, so they will change it. But it's very important to use the 4 or 5 minutes. It's important to keep it simple, very simple. You will have time to elaborate it, you will have time to do it later, but keep it simple and straightforward. Just go straight with which are the elements, the main elements that you would like to transmit. And usually, again, the first evaluation is on the person that people have in front of them, even before the story. So who are you? What has the project got to do with you? Is coherent what you're saying with what you're written, basically. It corresponds, it's the same film. How confident are you with your story? So can you be trusted, in the sense that, do you know your story? Also, are you aware of the weakness of your story? Especially when we are talking about development, it's at the beginning. So it's, of course, I'm totally aware from the fact that things can change. But how are you confident? Do you trust your team and your story? And this means, can you be trusted? I mean, you are in early stage of development and you are pretending that everything is done, everything is perfect, everything is organized. I automatically don't trust you, because it's not possible. You are at the early stage of development. So we all know that some doors, they have to be open. Okay. What you're aiming is make them want to know more. So you are aiming to have individual meeting to discuss more things. So what will we see in the film? Give us the context and the basic information during the pitching. What is the USP, unique selling point? You will find this, this short word, USP, unique selling point. So what has, even if you're doing another film on the Second World War in Germany, why, what is your, the uniqueness of these stories? the title. Don't forget the title. I put it in red because it happens so many times, because that, you know, for emotions, I don't know, but people just forget to tell the title of the film. And don't forget to mention yourself. I mean, who are you? Which is your position in the film? Are you the scriptwriter? Are you the director and author? Are you the director and producer? So who have the people in front of them? The key questions: why now? This is apparently it's a personal thing, but it's actually a marketing. So this helps the listeners and the decision makers to understand, is the moment for the market to accept and have this kind of story or this kind of project. So why you feel that this is the right moment to tell this story? Why me? Because which is your connection with the story and with the project itself? Why you are the right person to produce or to write or to direct this story? And who has already said yes? It's very important when you do a pitching to show, without making fake things, to show that you have already some support. That's why it's usually good, you know, to somehow to have even a small confirmation of potential partners on board. How to build a good story, how to build a good pitch. Make a good start. Try to surprise and wake up listeners. It's no need to show off. Simply try to find one sentence that could fit with the story, but could be also nice and catchy somehow. At the same time, and the same way, make a good ending. Something clear and precise. They will help people to remember you. So if you have any powerful elements, it could be good to put it at the beginning of the end of it. I have seen pitching on documentaries when we discover at the end of the pitch that the main character is, I don't know, the uncle of the director, for instance. This I mean, according to the pitch and how you build it, it's powerful because you immediately connect. You know, it's a story of somebody that you don't know with story of somebody who is right there in front of you. So maybe you have the story of the dysfunctional family with some very important issue. Somebody went to jail, and you discover that the person in jail till 3 years ago was the person who is in front of you, because it's director's story. I'm just doing some examples, but you know, to give you the idea on how powerful could be to release some elements in the right way. And in the middle, develop the story. You have 4 or 5 minutes of attention of people. Try to be brief and focused, and avoiding, you know, empty words, avoiding to go around to the story the same things and to give too many elements. And use teaser and visual material. It really depends from the project, if you're using it at the beginning or at the end of the teaser. So this is something that there is no rule. There is not a good position for that. But when you build your pitch, try to understand which is the most powerful way to keep the attention of people, you know, and to transmit better the situation. Again, no acting or performing. Pitch, it's basically about authenticity. So it's important to be yourself. It's very important that we get to know you a little bit better in that few minutes. If you are a shy person, you will show that you're a shy person. Fair enough. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's difficult for everybody to talk in front of so many people. So it's, if you are too sure of yourself, or you pretend to be too sure of yourself, this could be not really good, you know, for your performance, basically. You have mostly 2 ways of pitch. You have a creative pitch and a business pitch. I listed here, you know, what, in case you have a creative person in front of you, in case you're going to approach, that could also be a producer, but a script writer, or you want to get on board the director or another other people from the creative team, that it's a potential list and order that you can follow. Start with yourself. It's always good to introduce yourself. Who are you? Which is your link to the project? So are you the director? Are you the script writer? Why, again, why this story and why you? Give some general information of your project. So the title and the logline, a couple of sentences, that's okay. It's fine. You can elaborate it a little bit later, but at the beginning, give a general idea on what's the project about. How do you intend to tell the story? Mostly, if you are the director, or the script writers, which is your personal approach and your personal touch on these stories? Which is the status of the project? So, do you already have a treatment or a script? Or you are in early stage and just have the idea and you need a script writer? And what you are looking for? You are in early development and you have the script writers and the director. You're looking for a potential co-producers, but also a script doctor, for instance, because you feel that the script is not strong enough and you don't really see space for improvement. You need an help from outside. If you go on more business side, you might need to change a little bit the structure of your pitch. If you have in front of you a business angel or an investor, potential investor. So my suggestion is to start with the log line. Try to grab immediately the attention with log line, with an overview of the project. Introduce right after yourself and the company. So this is ideally a pitch that a production company and the producer does. So give the businessman or woman which is in front of you the idea that you know who and you know your team and you can get along with them. And give more information on projects. So it's the story, but also the formats. And as you see, you reduce the story itself to a very short description. So this is the moment in which you have to talk about the story itself, but probably a logline is enough. You don't need those 4 or 5 minutes to focus on that, because they will need to know some other information. For instance, the audience. They would like to know the target group that you're aiming for to bring on web or VOD or on cinema. And it's always good to give some example, some benchmark, so-called, some example of other projects that you can compare with yours that have been working and ideally made money in the international market. Mention distribution, because if a person is going to invest on your film, probably is doing it for promotion. So they will know who is going to see this project and how many people you will be able to reach. Financing, which is your current situation. Who has already said yes? Who are you in talks with? They don't want to be the first one. I mean, when you talk about financiers, it's not really worth to go deeper in the financing plan that they will probably don't understand. I mean, they don't need to know that some local funds are pending and you need a co-producer and so on. They just want to know, which partners are confirmed and which are you waiting for to have on board. And if you are in a gap financing, which is mostly the case when you do a business pitch. And do your offer. So it's not here, it's different. You are not what are you looking for, but what you offer them. So how much money do you need, basically, of course, and which kind of ROIs, return of investment, are you offering them, basically. So what it could be, if you invest X amount of money on my film, we can say that this film will probably go to 2-3 international festivals. We have already an agreement with the distributor. So basically, what could be the added value and what they will reach with their logo, with their money, what are they buying, basically. If you want something in the middle, which is what happens most of the time, so you're talking to a producer, or you're talking, which also is a businessman, but not a business angel, this is a potential scheme that I'm leaving you with to be used. So to start with you, it's always good. Which kind of film are you doing? The context and the language of the film, which is the story and the attractive elements. So try to elaborate a little bit on the story without being too long, but something in the middle between logline and synopsis. More than a synopsis, underline which are the most important elements of your story. Where are you with the project? So project status. Some numbers, general numbers, as we do in the package of budget. We're talking about a 500,000 euros budget and financing plan. You have 10% confirmed or not yet, or 80% confirmed that you are in pre-production. And what are you looking for? Which kind of partner are you looking for? So this is a kind of combination between the creative pitch and business pitch. And my last suggestion, and then I'm making you free after these 2 and more hours, is try to be professionals always. Even if you have no so much experience, it's very, very important that you behave as a professional, that you trust yourself as an emerging professional. That's okay, but a professional in international context. So don't be afraid to say that you don't know something. Try to be updated as much as you can, because what scares people mostly is to have non-professional persons in front of them. So some people, they accept easily, you know, the fact that you might not know, you might not be into the language so much or so well, but if you're faking it, it's very easy to discover. So be honest. And if you do it in the more easy and nice way, people will easily explain to you again what is a minimum guarantee, or which could be the dynamic of an agreement. So they will not have any problem with that. But at least they will know that they have a professional in front of them, which is building his or her career. So they will trust you. You build a relationship of trust. Do you have any question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Yes.
Can you tell, please, a little bit more about USP, unique selling point? Is it the same as a story unique, or it's something special?
Yes, it's basically the same. It usually has to do with the story itself. It's the element that makes you the only person capable to tell the story, even if not that story, the story in that specific way. It could be your approach. Usually, for instance, for documentaries, they are called creative documentaries because the creative part is the point of view of the director. That is unique because each of us, we look at the same context, at the same story in totally different ways. So how the director will look at that story is unique. And what makes it special? So what is your strong point of view will, and I will see that story through your eyes, through the director eyes. This is, for instance, for documentary. For the fiction is the same. Which are the elements which make this story totally different from the others? From why do I need another family story of a dysfunctional family? I mean, what makes that in terms of story very, very different from everything else? Also, some directing elements could be the unique selling point. You have a director who has this specific way to shoot, so it makes become that story that could, instead of simple and linear storytelling, it could make something totally different. It could change somehow, you know, the full the full film, because it can have a totally different approach from visual style in terms of photography, in terms of storyline. What makes your film different from and unique from everything else that has already been said? Because there are so few, I mean, everything has already been said, to be honest now. I mean, we have so many films, so many stories that it's very difficult to find something that it's totally, totally new. But still, we are interested in personal stories, in small stories, in local situation, and even in global situation. As I was mentioning yesterday, I keep reading a lot of films of quarantine, but still, some of them have really so many different points of view that could be interesting to see. If I have the same one, then I have already seen this film. But otherwise, what makes that situation that we all have lived and we all have known and we all are fed up probably now, what makes very different and unique from that?
Should we use unique selling point only on creative pitching or in business pitching also?
If you have something very strong and it fits with the description of the story, you can also mentioning it. If the unique selling points for the business pitch is more business oriented. So if these elements allows you to have, for instance, an important distributor, it's the case to mention it. Otherwise, if it's only strictly related to the story, they will probably be okay with the story itself. Then after your pitch, you will sit around the table, ideally with those people, and there you can depend this and you can also mention your unique selling point. But during a pitch, it makes sense for a business pitch only if it has, you know, a specific business and money meaning in this sense.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay, then yes.
Just want to be sure that I get this structure right. So if we want to go to market, first of all we need to find it online, right?
Yes.
Okay, then we apply online with this package.
Online. And now you can participate also online because there are a few markets happening on site. So yes.
Okay, so then we need to wait the feedback from the market. Yes or no, yes, you are okay. And then we participate online, or we can go to this country and do the real pitching, like face-to-face, right?
Exactly. Okay. That's how it works. Yes, exactly that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I got it right. Thank you.
Good. Okay, I will send in a few minutes the presentation and the links to Asel, so as she can spread it to you all. You have there also my contact, my mobile and my emails. Feel absolutely free to write me. Any doubt you should have in the next days, rethinking or rereading those documents, and you know, I'm available, so it's absolutely, I would be absolutely happy to answer you. And thank you very much for following me till here. I hope, I mean, it's not easy, you know, to do this online. When you are face to face, it's much easier. But from your question, I feel that I got my point. I feel that you really got all information, and I hope you can use that in a very concrete way as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
I wish you all the best. I hope to meet you personally maybe in 1 year time, and we will see when the time comes to meet personally.
Just looking forward.
Would you like to say
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And then we will be in chat by email or face-to-face again online. Okay?
I will put you on our chat.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Alessandra, for all this
Thank
information.
for organizing this. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Me too.
Right.
Bye-bye. Have a nice afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.